Hi, my name's Starsky and welcome to From the Studio on Clubbing TV. In this episode, we're going to take another of Pittsburgh Modular's new releases, and that's the Voltage Lab 2. And this is a really unique instrument for a start. It doesn't use subtractive synthesis like a mode, or a sequential, or an Oberheim, or a Nord, or an Electron, or an Ovation. Pretty much every other synth you can think of uses subtractive synthesis. This starts off with these two oscillators, and these oscillators are wave-folding oscillators. So they're not like your standard sawtooth square triangles. You start off with a sawtooth, then you fold it over itself. I'll play it all in a minute, and you get all these really distinct harmonics from it. But they've also created new ways of manipulating them. So on the first one here, we got this positive and this negative parameter. And what this does, it essentially cuts the waveform in two, into a positive half and a negative half. And they call it center clipping. And then you can adjust the level of the positive and you can adjust the level of the negative. So you can do all sorts of weird stuff with those waveforms. And on this second one, we've got this parameter called reflection, and that's what this big knob does here. And this takes the negative half and flips it back over into the positive. So again, you're getting all sorts of different waveforms from what is already a complex waveform. If you've taken something like a sine and then you've folded it over itself, and now you start reflecting the negatives to the positive. Over to this function generator, and if you know your modular synths are the thing called mats, this is like mats. They're all based on old Buchla technology, and it's got LFOs and envelopes in there. Quite interesting ways of manipulating that. Probably won't go into that here because it does get quite complicated, but just think of this as your envelopes and your LFOs. And then over here we've got these dynamics controllers, and the dynamics controllers are a little bit like a filter. You can think of them as a filter, you can use them like a filter, but they're slightly different in that you take a pulse or a trigger and then it drops the volume and the frequency of the filter at the same time. Again, I'll play all that in a second. Then following that, we've got this little chorus and this echoes, and that's an analog delay unit. And all this might look very, very familiar because if you were watching a couple of weeks ago, I did the review of their Tiger keyboard, and that does look very similar. It's got the same knob that are unique to Crate Audio and Pittsburgh. And then we do have the same dynamics controller, the same delay, and the oscillators do look similar, although these are a little bit more complex. There's two of these, there was three on the Tiger, and obviously the big difference here, well, apart from the actual synthesis method, is this section at the bottom. And this obviously isn't a keyboard, but it's a touch controller, and we've got two lines of sequencing plus a line of CVs, and there's loads of interesting stuff we can do with that as well. So I think we'll start off just by taking a little listen to what these oscillators sound like. And this isn't a semi-modular synth. When you've not got anything patched in, there's no signal flow whatsoever. So you need to plug in your signal flow, and we'll take oscillator 1 out. And if we put that into the output input, as it were, we're getting a signal. Turn it up. So we want it to play something when we're holding a note and not play anything when we release a note. So we'll take the gate out of this yellow channel down here, and the gate out of that is there. And we plug it into the dynamics processor, which is a little bit like an amplifier and a filter all in one. And then we'll take the output of that and we'll put that into the main output. And then we put the output of the oscillator into the input of the dynamics. This is why some people really don't like modular and some people really do, because you can do what you like, plug anything into anything you like. Turn that down. So now it's playing something when we hit a note, but we need to change the pitch of that. So we'll change the pitch by taking the pitch output of the yellow lane and we'll put that into, need a longer cable. We'll put that pitch into the input of the pitch of the oscillator. So now we're getting pitch and we can hear these oscillators. So all sounds that you won't get from a standard synth, at least not from the oscillator alone. Most synths, when you play a triangle, you just get that. With this, all these things are extras, as it were. And we can play with a positive and negative. Got this thing called a positive offset. And we've got that on all the wave shapes plus this warp mode as well. So they're the oscillators. So as I say, we modulate them with things like these function generators. I won't really go into it, but what you see on this LED here is basically what you're getting. So let's put this one onto a loop as well. So we can see that that one's looping. Change the attack and the fall, rise and the fall, or the attack and release effectively. Hopefully you're picking that up on the camera. Let's make this one slower, make it faster. Let's take the output of that. And let's put it into the, let's do oscillator 1. Let's put that into the tunnel CV. Let's listen to oscillator 1. Let's turn the CV amount up. Yeah, so all sorts of madness to be had, or really gentle modulationals. So as I say, imagine this as being envelopes and LFOs, but they've got all sorts of different trigger conditions that you can use in them, and it just makes them really flexible and interesting, and that generative stuff where the synths seem to play themselves all comes out of stuff like this. So I think that just about covers the synthesis section of it. Shall we take a look at the sequencer and this touch controller on the bottom now? Okay, then we've got two channels of notes, as it were. We've got the red channel and we've got the yellow channel, and this blue channel in the middle is a channel of CV. That can be used for pretty much anything you want. You take the CV out and patch it into whatever, but it also sends out an envelope length for each of the steps as well. We've got 16 steps here, and the red and the yellow connect completely independently. So you can adjust the yellow, the red, or both together. We'll just use the yellow for now. So let's add some steps to it. We'll put it into sequencer mode. Now you can see we're adding steps. Play it, see what happens. If we just add all the steps, then we can see what's happening with these blue knobs here. This is a really quick overview because this is quite complex, this thing. We play it again. So as I change the blue knobs there, that's changing the gate length, so the steps sounding longer. And there's so many different ways we can manipulate what's happening from step to step. We could scan the steps with an LFO. If we brought an input there, it'd just go back and forth, for example. Just, as I say, going super quick through all this. Let's put an output from there into the scan, and let's put this onto a loop. So I say all sorts of madness you can do with it, but I'll just show you a few little tricks. Let's go up in sleeves. We can change the length of each of the notes independently. So if I go into edit plus step length there and change the length of note 1 using this knob here, step 1 will now be 7 steps long. So if we play it again, it holds on. A 7, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, yeah. And I'm fully aware I couldn't make that sound any less musical if I tried. So luckily, I have created a little track using the 2 sequencer lanes with the yellow sequencer on 8 steps, the red sequencer on 16 steps, with different steps having different lengths and stuff like that, making use of everything. So here it is. What are my final thoughts? So there you have it, the Voltage Lab 2 from Pittsburgh Modular. It's a really nice bit of kit, this. You can go from really dirty bass lines like those serum style wavetable things using these wave folding oscillators, or you can do your nice ambient blips and blops. But I just find it's really nice to approach things from a different angle, really. It's not going to be the first synth you buy, it's about £1,800. Although I say that, actually, if you are used to things like all your standard plugins, something like this really does give you that little bit extra. It gives you something completely different to what you get in the box. You approach things from a different way and you experiment a little bit more and you come up with unique little ideas. One of those tracks there with that ring mod, when that kicks in, I absolutely love that. So really nice bit of kit. I hope you enjoyed this. If you did, don't forget you can catch it whenever you like on our Clubbing TV official YouTube channel on the From the Studio playlist. If you leave any questions in the comments, I'll see what I can do to answer them. And also I've got a lot more of a deep dive of this on my Starsky Car YouTube channel as well. So do check that out. And I'll see you in the next episode of From the Studio.